Well, good morning and welcome to a new little series called Something for the Weekend, Sir. Now more than ever, we're probably looking for something a little bit different than our normal browse YouTube, browse the same websites we go to, browse XYZ. So I thought I'd put together just a little, probably no more than 5 or 6 minutes of what I've been keeping myself busy with over the last week, and maybe some resources you'll find useful. Let's get cracking. Now, one of the first things that I would say is I find a little useful little tip for trying to expand those who you're following on Instagram, and it's kind of using those who you're already following. So what I'll quite often do is I'll go in, so let's pick someone who I'm sure a lot of you guys are following already, Simon Baxter. If you're not following him and are interested in woodland images, then he's the one to follow. Now, what I'm most interested in when I'm looking at someone's profile, especially someone's profile who I really like, is who they are following. Now, if they're following several thousand people, this doesn't really work. This only really works, I think, when the person who you're following is maybe only following a couple of hundred people, because it makes it much easier then to follow. You know, I'm thinking to myself, why they're obviously quite selective who they're following, so the chances are this will be quite a selective list, quite a nice curated list. So obviously the first thing you'll get is all of the folks you're following in common, and then you can just kind of scroll down and just pick a particular person. You know, you can just scroll down through these here, and you might actually come across an account that actually you quite like. So down with it. Oh, this looks yeah, this could be one that I'd be maybe interested in at some point. So let's give old Dan a follow. So yeah, click on someone who you're following and you really like their work. Check to see whether they're maybe only following a couple of hundred people, and then go into who they're following, and you might actually find some little diamonds in there to follow yourself. Now, let's look at some other online resources that I've been sort of catching up on this week. First up is Vanda's work. Now, I know a lot of folks have probably done their own photo a day for a year, 365 days. I don't think I've seen one that actually has been put together so fantastically well. It is absolutely fantastic. I mean, I'll just pick one particular month. So let's go into May. And she actually also puts together some little sort of words and poems and things like that as well. Trust me, almost each month, each day has got some phenomenal work and a real eclectic mix. Sometimes it's a bit of ICM, sometimes it's a bit of abstract, sometimes it's just a snap that she's taking kind of out on her daily walk. Trust me, grab yourself a coffee, or if it's at least after midday, something a little bit stronger. We are living in strange times after all. And just devote an hour or a couple of hours to really just go through this 365 project. And of course, all of the links that I talk about, I'll put down in the comments section below. So check out. And of course, she's got a lot of other projects going on as well. Some of them are absolutely beautiful. In fact, there's one in particular that I quite like, and that's the Waiting for Summer one. I kind of had a very similar thought process maybe 5-6 years ago myself about photographing, you know, seaside, when I lived in Cambridge, photographing seaside towns in the off season, because I think they have quite a haunting beauty to them. But Vanda has just captured they're just absolute. I mean, the tonal, yeah, just absolutely beautiful. So yeah, check out Vanda's work, her 365 project, but also her other projects as well. Definitely worthwhile checking out. So next up is Glennis Garnett, and I think I first came across Glennis's work about 18 months ago, and I was just blown away by them. And of course, at times like this where we are limited to where we can get to take regular images, there's a lot of folks out there who are kind of coming up with kind of indoor projects and projects close to home. And I think this is where someone like Glennis's work can really be used as a bit of an inspiration to what is possible, especially with Photoshop. Once you've got sort of the baseline images, I mean, it's just such beautiful work. And in fact, what Glennis has actually quite kindly done is on YouTube, she actually put together some resources on how she actually puts together some of her images. And so this is what I would recommend you spend a little bit of time just familiarizing yourself with. If you're not familiar with how to create customized brushes or customized textures and things like that, and also her process. I've been aware of kind of creating textures from existing images before, as in existing images that I maybe have found online under Creative Commons. But what about going out and creating your own kind of baseline images? So when you're out, the weather's perhaps not playing ball, you can still capture some images, maybe an old oak tree or some birds in the sky, that you're then thinking, I could perhaps create some brushes or some textures with those. And Glennis has put together a series of videos that kind of talk you through some of her more popular work, how she kind of put it together, as well as just some very basic, creating an image with textures, creating a background texture. So very, very useful, very kind of Glennis to actually put that up there. She also does, I think, workshops, creative workshops as well. So check that out. But yeah, love Glennis's work. Okay, so the next one, these two are actually linked. So I'll come to John Blakemore first of all. And I discovered John's kind of blog post after I had already sort of started down the path of the next resource that I'll talk about. It's all about light. Again, we're trapped kind of inside for 23 hours of the day. How can we use our time wisely? And I think that does come down, one way that we can do it is by studying light and how light disperses kind of even around our home, our flat, whatever our sort of living space is. And I think there was one sort of comment that he makes here that was actually taken from a book, Catching the Light, by Arthur Zangonch. I have totally butchered that name and I apologize profusely. What is the nature of this invisible thing called light, whose presence calls everything into view, accepting itself? And for a while now, when I've been outside doing photography, I think for all the best will in the world, where we think about, right, let's see whether we can compose an image based upon colour. Let's see whether we can compose an image based upon light. Let's see whether we can compose an image based upon tonal ranges. More often than not, we just get sucked back into, let's see whether we can compose an image from the sort of scene in front of us, the objects in front of us, the foreground with the rocks and the background with the mountains. And I think a study of light would perhaps help us become more appreciative of how we could actually compose our images based upon light. So removing almost the actual objects themselves from our view, and instead looking at light, tonal range, things like that. So John, as he says himself, has done most of his work within enclosed spaces, his own home, his own place. So he talks about really just getting familiar with your own surroundings and study light, how it kind of flows. Now the sun rises through this window behind you here, and obviously at the moment sets kind of on the other side of the flat. We don't really get great sort of light at any point in the day, but what I've been trying to do is kind of just notice how the light has been sort of falling on different objects and see whether there's one particular window that I could perhaps use. And that brings me on then to Ted Forbes. Now, I'm a huge fan of Ted. It was actually Ted who introduced me first of all to the Holga camera, and that then led on to me sort of running a little bit of a collaborative Holga project myself with a bunch of friends, lots of fun. But Ted has often run these things called photo assignments, and he's doing one right now. And I'll put the link to the opening vlog, where again it's just based upon studying light, looking to see whether you can make some images based upon how the light is coming in with various objects, sort of still life, portraiture and things like that. So both John Blakemore's blog post, and sounds like he's going to do a few more, and Ted's photo assignments, certainly something to keep you occupied, rather than looking for something, an individual image per se, more the study of a particular scene over a prolonged period of time. Today, very overcast out there, so you have a chance to sort of shoot objects in varying light, be it really good light or poor light. Alright guys, so I think we'll call it quits right there. Hopefully you'll find some of those resources useful. Rumour has it we have a little bit of spare time on our hands at the moment, I think. These are resources that I have either found in the past and keep coming back to. Some of them I've just kind of found this week and thought I would share them out. So hopefully you find that useful, and I say links to everything I've talked about down below. I'll just leave you with one image that I have made this week based upon kind of that study of light, just looking at some of the reflections on the roof coming in through one of the windows, made on the old trusty iPhone. There you go. Right guys, I think it's time for, it's 1 minute past 12. I think it's time for brandy. Stay safe guys. Catch up soon. Bye bye. Oh, brandy.